Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the July Board of Adjustments. It's 9:05. My name is Larry Otterback, and we are now in session. We have two cases this morning, both of which will use the same procedures. Here shortly, I'm going to swear staff in. Mike, our secretary, will read the case. I guess Tom's going to do the staff presentation. And following the staff presentation, there will be a round of questioning by board members to staff. When we're done with that, staff's going to take a seat. I'm going to call you, the applicant, forward. You're going to come to the podium, raise your right hand, be sworn in, state your name and address, and justify the project. There will probably be a round of questioning by board members to you, the applicant. And when we're done with that questioning, you may take a seat. I'll call forward anybody that wishes to speak in favor of the application, and then anybody opposed to the application. Same process. Anybody in favor or opposed, come forward, raise your right hand, state your name and address, be sworn in, tell us why you're in favor, tell us why you're opposed. There'll probably be a round of questioning by board members to those in favor and those opposed. When we're done with that, the applicant can come back forward and have time for a rebuttal. Then we'll do final statements. When we do final statements, no new testimony, just final statements. I will provide a time or an opportunity for any questions from any of the board members to anybody in the audience. And when we're done with that, I'll close the floor, open it up for general discussion among the board members, and take an up and down vote. Cell phones, please make sure cell phones are off or on vibrate. If you need to use them, please excuse yourself from the court. Just make sure it's off when you come back in. Same thing goes with board members. Please make sure your mics are on. And with that, I guess let's get sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. Mike, you want to read the first one?
Docket OC-20-005. An application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit, detached accessory dwelling unit, and location variance for a proposed structure located at 6900 Old Zering Road, Crestwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tom McIntyre, Senior Planner, Oldham County Planning and Development Services. As Mr. Riley had stated, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit and location variance for a proposed structure at 6900 Old Zering Road in Crestwood. The site is zoned R2 and is roughly 4.61 acres. Here we have the aerial map, pavement map showing the surrounding structures and impervious surface, followed by the zoning map. It is in the C of R2, so all adjoining properties are zoned R2 as well. The site history: in January 2020, an application for a minor plat was submitted and approved detailing a 4.61 acre tract. Here we have the approved and recorded plat showing the what the division was. So here you can see tract 1 is coming from, I believe it's this property, and tract 2A, well, really it's supposed to be that one, it's this property. The applicant is requesting a location variance to allow the proposed 624 square foot detached garage to be located in front of the primary structure, which sits at an angle. Per section 250.030E, no accessory use or structure shall be located between the principal building and the front yard property line. The proposed detached accessory structure will be 568 feet from the front property line, which would be approximately 30 feet in front of the principal structure. Here on the left, you can see the house on the plat, along with the detached accessory structure. And on the right, we have the submitted plot plan from the applicant, also specifying the same. So all I did on the left side was take the submitted graphic and essentially just transpose it on the recorded and approved plat. The applicant is also requesting a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit, which would provide for a functional recreational area above the garage. The proposed plans show a 624 square foot garage on the first floor and a 624 square foot living room, bathroom, closet, and attic space on the second floor. It will be constructed with the same materials, windows, trimming, and style as the primary structure, and it will be used to secure vehicles and personal belongings. Per section 250.040E5, these detached accessory dwelling units shall not exceed 25% of the primary structure. The primary residence is approximately 3,650 square feet, and the proposed ADU is 624, which complies with the Oldham County zoning ordinance. Above is the submitted floor plan. So on the left side, you can see the bottom floor, which would be the garage. On the right side, you'd have the top floor with the attic space. And most of your living area right here. Here we have the submitted renderings, or rather elevations, of the detached unit, accessory dwelling unit. Here we have a rendering. So it's important to note that the applicant has scratched out this portion right here. This shows a connection between the detached unit and the primary unit. That will not be there. So if if the structures were to be put together or were to have that connection, they wouldn't have applied for the conditional use permit. Per the applicant's justification statement, the additional square footage is necessary for the owners to make adequate use of the space for their living needs for 6 people. It will add curb appeal and functionality to the home. It is more than a garage, rather an extension of the beautiful farmhouse, adding charm and purpose. Allowing this variance will provide the owners reasonable access from the entrance of their home to their garage. Lastly, adjoining neighbors have an accessory structure in front of their primary, therefore not introducing this type of use in the neighborhood. Here we have the primary structure, which is under construction. On the right side, you can see where the proposed structure will be. Here as well. Here's looking out to the adjoining property owners out in the field. So here's looking essentially just right where you're in front of the proposed structure, looking all the way up through the driveway. So this is the closest 600 feet to the road. Here's once you get up to the top of the driveway, and you're on, I believe it's Old Floydsburg Road, or no, Old Zaring. Here's looking west down Old Zaring, east, and south back down the driveway. Lastly, or in summary, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit. Also, an application has been filed requesting a location variance for a proposed accessory structure located at 6900 Old Zaring Road in Crestwood. I'd be more than happy to entertain any questions at this time.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions?
The a couple of questions. Can you pull this back up? So the application refers to a bathroom, and then you refer to a living room, and then there's no, quote, separated, I guess there would be a sleeping space. Is that why we're calling this an ADU as opposed to just using the attic and a garage?
Correct.
Okay.
Also, I would ask the applicant to, might be a good idea to ask the applicant if they come up to
I can do that.
specify that.
All right.
Tom, do you have any, 2 questions. First of all, do we have any letters of support or opposition from neighbors?
No, sir, I've not received anything in support or opposition.
All right, do you have any pictures of behind the house showing the property behind the house?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Behind the house is being constructed now.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, transposing their drawing and putting it on the actual plot so we could see where it was at there was very good. That was very helpful. Thank you for doing that.
Great.
Okay. Any further questions?
I have a question, Tom.
Yes, sir.
Track 1 and Track 2, you said, was brought from other lands to make the 2 tracts of property. I'd just like to know, were they purchased from other neighbors, or did the applicant own that one piece of property?
That's an applicant, that's a question I'd ask the applicant.
Okay.
Okay, anything else for Tom? Thank you, Tom. All right, if we could have the applicant come forward. Morning.
Morning.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address for the...
I am Candace Johns, and the address is 6900 Old Zarin.
I'm Craig Bratton. I'm the builder.
Okay. Okay, if you'd like to,
Give us your address, please.
Yeah.
Sure. 7089 Fallen Timber Road, Campbellsburg.
okay, and if you can tell us what it is you'd like to do and justify the project.
Sure. The Mr. and Mrs. Johns are requesting a location variance in order to place the garage not in front of, but slightly forward and to the right side of the existing, or the home that's being built. They would like to do that just from a aesthetic standpoint, very popular design right now. It will be angled slightly. The other thing is, as far as the conditional use permit goes, they're just requesting that. They have 4 kids. They would like a, kind of a recreational area, somewhere where their kids can go apart from the house. So it's my understanding this is not going to be some type of rental property or anything like that. It's going to be used by them only.
Okay,
Let's see, we do have drawings that show where the bathroom is going to be located. I think I gave those to Amy. Did you get those? They were in a roll and they were huge, the blueprints.
I have not gotten any construction plans for the garage, so I'm not sure. I gave everything to Tom. I don't recall getting any rolled plans,
Okay, well,
but
there is a drawing that has the bathroom drawn on it, and it's in the back right corner. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's actually in the front right corner, nearest that attic space.
At least you can point to it on the screen. You can touch the screen.
Okay, so it is in this location right here.
We'll have to find out what happened to the drawings, because I brought the blueprints to the office and said, "Can you please give these to Amy?" She asked for them, and I don't know how they got lost. I'm so sorry.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry. Let you finish your presentation before I start asking questions.
That's all I have.
okay, questions?
Could you just explain what's the purpose? What are you trying to do? I understand from the builder. I'd like to hear it from the owner, please.
Okay, so we have 4 children, and we homeschool, and we are really excited about having this extra living space above the garage. It can be a recreational area. We can put a pool table up there, and as my children are getting older, I would love to have it for, if they were going to college in town and wanted to live there and have it be just like an open apartment type place with a bathroom in it, so that they could not be in the home but still be close. So that's our dream, and have it right there next to the house and have it detached. And I also love the look of the house with the detached cottage garage. I think it's my favorite. I think it's really pretty.
So when you started building the house, this was not anticipated at that point, and that's what my question, before you answer, my question is more about what your plans were, why it was done in 2 phases instead of all in one request, and that kind of thing.
Honestly, we moved here from Trimble County, and I did not know you couldn't do that. So it was my fault. I had no idea that you had to have, that you couldn't have a detached garage. So that was just a big blank on my part. I didn't know. So we started building the house. We wanted to do the garage and found out from our builder.
And I also will say that I think budget has allowed that now. They anticipated this from the beginning. They wanted a detached garage. But once we got started, the budget has now allowed for that.
And you did ask where we purchased the property from? One of you did?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so my brother lives on the right side, and he sold us 2.61 acres in the back. And then Dale lives on the left side, and he sold us the 2 acres in the front so we could get access to the road. And that's how we ended up with this plot.
Thank you.
How far from the primary structure will the ADU be placed?
The rear corner, it's skewed just a little bit. So the rear corner, I believe, is about 18 feet. There is
At least on, I'm
Yes.
sorry, on one of your drawings, you do have 18 feet.
Yes, is there a way to go back on this? It would be strong.
See the 18 right here.
Okay, yes, so the back corner, which is right there, is 18 feet off the house, and then the front corner is approximately 7 feet over from the front corner of the house. So it does not sit in front of the house any at all. I can't really draw on this, but, so this corner up here is about 6.5 feet to the left of the house. The back corner's 18 feet.
Why can this not be located behind the house, therefore not requesting the variance?
There is quite a bit of elevation change. I'm not sure it really shows up on the picture, but the back corner of the house is about, it would have made a good walkout. It's about 8 feet below the front.
Can you bring up that picture, Tom, please? That needs, so we can see some of that. And again, maybe the picture doesn't do it as well justice, but.
You would like an aerial, Rob?
No, the one where you show the grayed out section where it would be at. You show the house under construction. There.
So yes, this has been backfilled, but before it was backfilled, this down here is about 9 feet lower than, these are 9-foot basement walls. All the entrance, obviously, to the house is on the front of the house. So it makes accessibility easier from the garage to the house.
This picture here, am I in front of the house,
Yes,
looking
you
at the
are.
house?
Yes,
Okay, so,
facing the front. Mhm.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the picture that shows the whole house?
there we go, that's a good
So
shot.
if you look at this, you can see there's a door in the center there, and that's the door to the mudroom. And then where the little triangle is and the front porch is, the main front door is actually there under that little triangle, the easement. Is that what you
I'm
call it?
sorry, I'm confused what you just said.
Okay, how do I draw
The
on
front,
this?
the door to the house, the front door is right over here on the porch.
So that's where the front door is. And then now can you show him where the mudroom door is?
Yes, the motoring door is right here.
So that's the door to the mudroom. Everything on the right side of the house, so do I just circle it? This
You
area?
can.
I don't know how to do it. So that's all bedrooms. So there's no entrance into the house on that side of the house. That's why the garage placed at an angle a little forward of the house makes a lot of sense, because all of our doors into our house are right there on the front.
Does the home being built at this moment have an attached garage with it at this time?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
What is the hardship in either attaching the accessory dwelling unit or positioning it behind the primary structure? If this were not approved, what is the hardship?
Well, the hardship attaching it, there would be no means of egress on the right side of the house, because those are bedrooms. And then, as far as moving it back, it's the cost of the foundation. It's going to be much taller because of where it's located.
Approximately, what is that cost?
The cost,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't have that. I would have to do some calculating on that.
Hundreds or thousands?
It would be in the thousands, not, great thousands, but
Yep. How far from the front of the old Zaring would either of these buildings be?
it's about 500 feet off of Old Zaring. The house is about 500, almost 600 feet. So it would be about 550 feet.
And then how far is either of these structures from neighboring houses? In other words, what I'm asking you, ma'am, is what would be, what's the view? Who else is going to see this? Other structures, other houses, are they going to be able to see this?
I don't believe so, because where our house is located, we cannot see the house to our left. We positioned it along the wood line in front of the pond, so he can't see our house from their house. And then to the right of our house is a soybean field. There are no homes there. It's you all would know more than I would. It's like 12 acres of soybean fields. So there isn't a neighbor on that side. And then the neighbor across the street, the Peoples, they do have a building in front of their house as well. And they would see it as, a house with the garage to the left. If I'm the house, the garage would be to the left, and it would be super cute.
The house across the street and both to each side are at least 1,000 feet away from their home. The houses in the back, you can't even see those. There is a barn that you can see, but there's a row of trees back there. But they're probably 800 feet away.
In the ADU, the proposed ADU, you had a little kitchen, am I correct? Was there, there's a bathroom
Just a
area?
bathroom.
Just the bathroom, bathroom and living space?
Yes,
Is that what
sir.
it was?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Living space, there was not a proposed bedroom, just the bath and living space.
Yes, sir.
Are you proposing to have your kids live there, or it's just recreational area?
They're not gonna live there. It's just, I don't wanna say anything that is untrue. Is there gonna come a time when one of them could possibly wanna stay there as they get older? Sure. But right now, no, they're all gonna be living in the house with us, and that's gonna be flex space.
Per your prior testimony, I think you said that it may be if someone went off to college, they could stay there while they were going to college.
Exactly.
That's what you said in prior
Yes, sir.
testimony.
That's,
Yeah.
and that's absolutely accurate.
Okay. I'll tell you, I'm struggling a little bit. We've got regulations in the county for a reason. We allow for variances and exceptions on a case-by-case basis. Typically, those variances are allowed given hardships or given
Unique circumstances of the
certain-
property.
That's right, property that's, maybe difficult to build on, or, just unusual circumstances. But I'm having a hard time trying to understand and find the hardships here, either positioning the proposed structure behind or attached. And then I think I've got to get clear in my head why the ADU versus just a detached accessory structure. So maybe I'll ask staff that question here shortly, but I will tell you, I am having a hard time accepting both of these, accepting the variance as well as the ADU. I'm trying to find that hardship for the variance.
So can I ask a question? So it's allowable to attach this though with a breezeway?
Yes.
That just needs to attach to the house? Doesn't have to have a means of ingress or
That would
egress?
be it, that's correct.
Can we ask staff to explain what a breezeway, to answer his question
And
better?
then also,
better
while
than
you're
I
up
can?
there, talk to me about the ADU versus accessory.
Right. I think the last question was the good one. If this were attached, that garage could sit exactly where they're proposing it. So simply by attaching it with a breezeway, which is a conditioned space. And I think that originally you saw that Tom had in his presentation a breezeway of some sort, and they chose not to do it, and that's why they're here. Neither one of these applications needed to be submitted if they had done a attached breezeway. They would have been part of the principal structure, and they would have been allowed to have sleeping quarters or play space, whatever, without it. But when they decided that it was better to separate the two structures, that's why it came forward. When you put in a bathroom, there's always the understanding that it could be for sleeping units, sleeping space, even though they don't have it designed that way. And you know, they were straightforward in saying, look, this is what we think it might be one day, so they're just wanting to get it done right in the beginning in terms of the conditional use permit for the accessory dwelling unit. They testified that it was all going to be just family members, not for any rental, and so realistically, it's not a ton different than if they were going to just attach it with a breezeway.
Jim, I have a question, if you'll permit me. Just connecting a roof structure with no sidewalls, is that considered a breezeway or must it be enclosed?
Do you have the definition? It's supposed to be conditioned space.
Okay. Because
So-
I have seen some structures where there's just like a roof line connecting, almost like you could walk from the garage to the structure, as an example, undercover, but not necessarily enclosed. And I just, for clarity, please.
The old way was undefined. In the old regulations, the breezeway, and that's where you've seen just a roof structure connecting. And then we changed the regulations a while back to define further what a breezeway is.
Okay.
And that was because we had a couple of cases that were challenged.
Certainly. Thank you.
Turn your mic on.
Yeah, got to turn your mic on. Turn your mic on. Well, it wasn't really a board. It had to be at least a structure that would meet building codes. I know that people tried stuff like that, like just doing a pergola, and that really was, again, why we very specifically changed to define the breezeway. And so, you know, absent the breezeway in this particular case, it again really is essentially the same thing without the breezeway.
Yeah.
Can I add something?
Well, let me just define, if you will.
Sure.
The definition of breezeway is a covered walkway open on all sides from the eaves of the roof to the ground, connecting a main structure with an accessory structure on the same building site, and designed to minimally maintain the architectural design, style, appearance, and character of the primary structure. Maximum length of the breezeway is 20 feet. So I was incorrect that it can be open. It doesn't have to be conditioned. We debated conditioned space versus open.
Can you put that on the screen so I can, I mean, you read it well, but I just would like to.
On 2 pages, and can you change the, put on the overhead? A lot of times, an open breezeway, it starts right here, and it finishes here.
Craig, did you have something to add?
Yes, sir.
If you can come to the podium.
Sure.
Thank you, Jim.
The reason for them not attaching it with a breezeway was because of cost. It was gonna add about around $5,000 just to make that 18-foot breezeway by the time you roof it, build it, and everything else. And so it only made sense, I mean, because it was gonna connect to nowhere to save the money and not do it when the only thing you were doing was just connecting it with that.
I have a question for, ma'am, I'm sorry, I forget your name. Do you mind to step to the podium, please? So, in your testimony previously, you were talking about the appearance and the style you're attempting to achieve.
Yes, sir.
And I'm looking at the overhead aerial views, and it appears as if this is really quite a rural setting. Is that correct?
Yes, farmland.
Okay, so and from what I'm seeing, and going back to one of the other questions, is there's not a great deal of houses in immediate proximity of the home. And to help me understand what your mindset, when you're presenting this to us, you're talking about the character and the appearance and the feel you're attempting to achieve by building this building. So if it were to push the building back behind the front plane of the home, then it's your testimony, if I understand correctly, you're changing the character of what you're attempting to achieve. And then to your builder's point, if I understand correctly, there's also going to be a cost associated with that, correct?
Correct. The backyard is a hill.
Okay.
So the backyard is quite a bit of a hill, and we have cows that we're putting back there. I have a milk cow, so my Jersey cows, we're planning on putting her back there. And the entrances into the house are both on the front of the house.
Okay.
So it would be inconvenient to have it on the back.
Okay. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around your presentation and your rationale and all that.
Oh, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Keep going.
No, I'm
Sorry.
done. Thank you.
Can you bring back up the picture of the house that you had before, under construction?
Switch over.
And then based on that, I'll ask a couple questions off of that. Yeah, right there, that would be great. So the testimony that you previously give, we were talking about is it 18 feet?
Yes.
Okay, so where's the door to the outside of the accessory structure?
It is in the rear. Let's see. Did the arrows take us where?
You can just do
The
one of these.
one with the drawing. Okay, maybe the next one.
I think that was it, right there,
Right there.
right there, side door.
Okay, so this is, this door is in the back corner. Circle it? Okay.
Okay. And that measurement of 18 feet is from where to there? Is that from that door to the back corner?
Okay, so the 18 feet is from this corner, back here, over to the house.
To the front corner of the house?
Yes.
Okay, and then can we go to the other picture of this? So his testimony is that's 18 feet. Now, can you give me the other picture? No, I'm sorry, of the house under construction, so I can see the front door, or the mud door. How far is it from that corner to the mud door?
From which corner, Rob?
Yeah.
You're talking about right here?
Yep,
To right here?
yes. Approximate is fine.
I'm gonna say in the 20-foot range.
Okay, so what we're talking about is if you functionally built a breezeway to make it functional and not just a way to do what you want and build something between two points in there that don't make any sense, you'd end up with a almost 40-foot, because you'd have to come around to the front door, you'd end up with a 40-foot breezeway. And that breezeway then would have to go up to the top roof line so that it didn't go across that main window of that main bedroom. I assume that must be the master or it doesn't matter whether it's master. It is a bedroom. And so it would have to go up higher. And so then it's not just a $5,000 connection, it's a
Much more.
much more because it's 40 foot long.
Yes, sir.
So let me walk back. I'm trying to figure this out because I'm struggling, much has been previously stated from the board. I'm struggling too, because what's the reason, what's this? Well, what I heard testimony earlier was, we built the house, but because of financial reasons, we didn't build this. We wanted it, but we were waiting. So now financials are such that you think you can do it. So even though it's maybe, you're still under construction here, you figured out that you can do it. I understand construction sometimes takes on extra costs that you didn't plan for, so you're being diligent with your money. Now, based on where the door is, and then you didn't know that we were doing that. I understand that's not a reason to justify. But now if we did a breezeway, which will allow you to do exactly where you want, if you heard staff say earlier, if there was a breezeway there, there would be no difference. You could put this building exactly where it wants. Where you go, well, okay, but that's not, a complete reason to say yes. But if we did the breezeway, it would have to be 40 foot from point A to point B between the two doors.
Yes, sir.
To make it very usable. We can connect it to the house, but it goes to nowhere
Right.
So,
in 20 feet.
all right, thank you, Rob. Good point. However, looks like you have a covered porch right there with a main door right there. And what if we were to put the accessory dwelling unit there?
They don't have the setback on that side.
Don't, very
Totally
good.
wanted to do
Very
that.
good.
That is exactly what I wanted when we first did it.
All right.
We don't have space.
Very good.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so, again, talk to me about pushing it back. You say it's got to have a more cost to the foundation. You said we're in the thousands, not hundreds, but what did you say about the thousands? Are we talking, a couple thousand, or are we talking 20,000?
I would probably say in the range of 4,000 to 5,000 by the
All right.
time you do the concrete. Plus, you have a tall wall, you've got a lot of rock that's got to go in there for fill for the floor. Then you have to have a lot more dirt to grade up behind it. So you're at least in the 5,000 range. And then connecting it to the house with a breezeway that goes to nowhere is at least 5,000. But to your point, Mr. Houchins, if you were to connect it to the door, that's much more costly. And it also really doesn't work because the pitch on the roof above that.
So that's where I was headed next. So if I look at the pitch and the way this door is where it is to put it at the ground level, because the house is ground level on the, what we're looking at, left side, but not on the right side. So then if you had to put a breezeway over there, the breezeway would obviously have to cover. So we'd have to extend that out, which would bring it down farther, which wouldn't look right,
Right,
correct?
correct.
So then, help me, what is the finished surface of the driveway upon completion?
At this point, it's gravel.
Okay, so if you were to push the garage back, at this moment, am I seeing in the images, it appears as if the garage would be positioned where the existing drive or the drive is at this moment? So if you were to push the garage back, then would you incur additional driveway costs?
They would.
Okay. Thank you.
By the way, I appreciate you being honest with your estimates and not saying, oh, it's $25,000 just to make your point, to try to make it there. I appreciate you trying to give us a reasonable estimate.
Well, I knew what the breezeway was because I've already figured that, and we started there, and then the increased cost on that, the foundation adds to the cost of the garage that really doesn't make much sense when you're doing the same exact thing, but you're just connecting it to the house with something that goes nowhere.
Just out of curiosity, at what point in time as you folks were planning this, did you realize that the garage was not an option on the other side, as Larry had referenced previously? For your
You mean
setback
putting the garage
distances?
on the
Yes,
other
ma'am, for your
side of the
setback
house?
distances,
Well, there's a lake over there, and so they wanted the house to be pretty close to that lake. And so,
That's why the home's positioned where it is.
It is.
But then when the garage became financially within reach, that was your first option to look at that location, but then you realized that you had the limitations on the setbacks, is that correct?
Well, we didn't know that you couldn't do a detached garage at that point. So we had no idea this was an issue. And we just, in the dreaming phase, said, let's put the house so it overlooks the lake. It's so pretty. On that side porch, you sit there and you can look at the lake. And then we'll just do the garage on the other side. And it is, you know, in my brain, it's next to the house, but it is forward of the house, angled so that we can have easy access to the doors. And we just honestly, my bad, did not know.
I think just for clarification, you can have a detached garage, it just can't be located in front of the house.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Ron, you good? Mike? Questions? Good?
No.
Rob? Okay,
thank you.
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the application? Opposed to the application? Any final statements, comments you wish to make?
Well, I would just say, as the builder, I'm not the applicant, but I would be in favor of it. I think it makes sense from a cost standpoint. I think it also makes sense from an aesthetic standpoint. I think it, you know, is a very, very appealing. Personally, I think it would look better the way that we have it designed than to try to push it back and try to make it even with the, you know, the front of the house, the front of the garage, the front of the house. So I would be in favor of it.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do you have questions for anybody? Okay, I'm going to close the floor, open it up for general discussion.
I guess I'll go first. I think given the testimony that we've heard, when we hear about the cost limitations of making the adjustments for the connectivity via breezeway, the rationale that it connects to nothing, given the elevation and topography of pushing the garage back, the fact that the building has limitations on the opposite side where the building could potentially go closer to the front door and the restrictions that they have based on size and space over there, I would be in favor of approving this, given the rule setting that the home's gonna have based on the testimony of the applicant, trying to achieve a particular aesthetics and appearance. I understand that we're looking at the variance of moving it forward of the front of the home, but the fact that we have an 18-foot breezeway that could be connected and we wouldn't be having this conversation, again, I just, given the testimony that we've received and I've heard, I would be in favor of approving this as submitted.
Bear in mind, we have two different motions here, one for the ADU itself and the other for the variance.
You know, considering that this site is 4.6 something acres, the home is going to be over 500 feet from the road. You're not sitting in the middle of a compacted subdivision. You're kind of out in some beautiful country. Some places, it was 1,000 feet. You know, if you take 500 feet, house across the street from house to house is probably 1,500 feet from one structure to another structure. I think the proposal is submitted, and I've heard what my fellow board members have stated. I know we have rules and regulations, but that's why we have a Board of Adjustments, so we can make the proper decisions on making variances when they are warranted. And I think in this particular case, I think this proposal, I would support this proposal.
All right, anything else?
I think for me, there's nothing that here that seems to be, quote, unreasonable. You know, you guys have already stated very well. In fact, you almost made a motion out of all the findings from it there. But the when I look at it too, I think the only other thing I can add on top of what you guys have already stated here in the discussion phase is that what's unique maybe to this as well is that there is a feature of the property that the applicant wishes to accentuate with their living, and that is the water feature. And so what they've done is built the house with that as the starting point and then worked their way over. But when you work your way where your main living space is on that end, and then the space for bedrooms are on the opposite end, and then but you got to have egress when you have bedrooms, because if it was living space, it was a living room that was next to the garage, you wouldn't have to worry about this. But because you want the living space to be with the unique feature of the property over here, now you're backed into this living space here, bedroom space here, and normally you have the living space next to the garage. You know, most people don't walk out of their bedroom into their garage. So it's the only other way I look at it, in addition to what you guys both already said. And the fact is that, yeah, we could put up what I call artificial breezeway to connect the two. And yes, we cause them to spend more money to do it. And I guess if I can't impose my personal feelings upon them, but if I were in the situation, I guess that might be what I did if we turned this down. And so we would be forcing them to spend money to make something that people would say, wait a minute, why is this here? You know, why did we do this? And so, given the fact of, again, distance, space, the testimony I believe was actually truthful about estimates and costs, and the fact that we did this first and then we did this second. While I don't want to prove things just because somebody wants them, I think and could never vote in favor of just that, just because you just want them. There's enough. This little piece here, this little piece there, this little piece there, that if we turn this down, they're just going to put, if it was me, some reasonable people would put in that and say, fine, I'm going to do it anyway, but I'll put this fake roof line leading to nowhere. And so then I don't think that's what we're after to do to any resident in our county. So while it's not completely 100% comfortable, I will say that I am comfortable enough to approve it.
Any discussion on the ADU?
Larry, does this qualify? Of course, they have a design of what they want to do today. But as we all know, and I know very well, with my years that are under my belt, that things change, and things could change. So I think we should make an approval based upon what might be in the future, so we don't get locked into one specific purpose for a building. They have a bathroom, there's no bedroom. All you got to do is get a cot and a pillow and a couple of blankets, and voila, you got a bedroom. So if it does qualify for a accessory dwelling unit, then that's what we ought to call it, and that's what we ought to approve.
Okay.
I don't have any issue with the ADU. I mean, the reality is, if you wanted to put a bathroom in your garage, and you could. And I think the fact is, what we've seen is them being upfront about what the plans or future plans could and could be, not should be. So I have no issues.
Okay, let's take the variance first. I'm ready to take a motion on the variance.
You want to take the variance first?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to approve a location variance to allow a proposed 624 square foot detached garage to be located in front of the primary structure. Will sit at an angle. This variance will provide the owners reasonable access from the entrance of their home to their garage. Additional support is as follows. It will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity. It will not allow unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulations. Conditions of approval. This variance shall only apply to the application considered at the July 16th, 2020, at the Oldham County Board of Adjustments and Appeals public hearing.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I would, I'm not sure when to do this, but shouldn't we be saying something as we're approving it to be in front, is all the motion says. I think we should say something as presented in the drawings or the pictures or something,
did.
so they don't
He-
put it all
he
the way.
did.
Plan only as the.
The
plan
condition.
submitted.
Okay.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that one's been approved, and let's do the ADU.
Motion to approve docket OC 20-05 for a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit, which will provide for a functional recreational area above the garage. This detached accessory dwelling unit will be constructed with the same materials, windows, trimming, and style as the primary structure. Additional approval support as follows. It will add curb appeal and functionality to the primary structure. Complete compliance with the Oldham County Comprehensive Zone Ordinance, Section 250-0405. The character and objectives of the proposed use and the potential impacts on the community and surroundings are appropriate. Conditions of approval. The conditional use permit shall only apply to the application considered at the July 16, 2020 Oldham County Board of Adjustments and Appeals public hearing.
All right, very good. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's been approved. All right, Mike, you want to read the second one?
Yes, let me find the,
You bet.
Thank
Have a
you
great
so
day.
much.
Bye-bye.
docket OC 20-006. An application has been filed requesting a front yard setback variance for a proposed structure located at 7428 West Highway 524, Westport.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. As you stated, an application has been filed requesting a front yard setback variance for a proposed structure at 7428 West Highway 524 in Westport. It is zoned AG1 and CO1 and is 2.5 acres. So here you can see where the portion of land is. Last year, we actually did a variance for the property down here for Mr. Phillip and Miss Bonnie Moss. Here we have the pavement, so it shows the existing structures along with the impervious surface. And here you can see the CO1, it just hardly creeps in along the front side. And here we have a contour map, so at the top you have a 658 foot contour. At the bottom you have a 468 contour, which means you have a 190 foot drop from the top to the bottom. There's no previous site history. The applicant is requesting a front yard setback variance for a proposed cabin. The subject lot must observe the AG1 CO1 minimum front yard setback of 50 feet. The applicant is proposing to construct a 504 square foot cabin to be 35 feet from the property line, requiring a 15-foot front yard setback variance. Here we have the submitted elevations, along with the submitted floor plan. You can see the 35-foot building line. The proposed structure will be 20 feet from the northern side property line. Right here. Here we also have the submitted site plan from the applicant. So you note, it notes tree line will not be disturbed down here. There'll be a proposed parking area down here. And in green, it says the only flat area on the lot is at the proposed structure location. Everything from the green line contours up the hill drastically. Per the applicant's justification statement, the area where the proposed structure is to be placed is currently cleared and would allow drainage without significantly altering the surrounding landscape. If the variance will not approve, the site would require removal of approximately 150 tons of rock to provide a viable building area. The additional costs to facilitate the necessary site prep to include clearing and rock removal will total approximately $20,000 to $25,000. The variance will allow the structure to be placed in a manner that is non-invasive to the natural topography of the land. And if the variance were approved, only one tree would need to be removed. By placing the proposed structure at the 50-foot building line, it would likely require removal of 30 to 40 trees. Here we have the proposed building site. You can also see one of the corners. Here's just another simple rendering, or I guess a sighting of where it's going to be on the property. When I was out there, they had they had building stakes out there, so it was easy to determine where the corners would be. So here you're looking out at 524, which is right here. Here we are at the parking area looking up into the cleared site. This is from the driveway looking across 524. You're looking north towards Westport. This is south going towards 42. And here's looking into the property. So in summary, the applicant is requesting a front yard setback variance. The required front yard is 50 feet. The requested front yard is 35, therefore requesting a variance of 15 feet. Be happy to entertain any questions at this time.
On these two pieces, there is an inconsistency. One structure shows it being a simple rectangle, the other one shows it more of an L shape.
This is what the applicant had submitted, so refer to them for that.
Go back to the topo map, please, toward the beginning. And what's the, yeah, there you go. The contours are, how far, what's the distance between contours? Where's the building line?
Building line is roughly right around here.
Okay.
So then you have 658 all the way up here.
Yeah,
Then you have your 468. It runs down around that area.
well, now I'm a little confused. So put the building line back up again, roughly. And it's your understanding, and I'll ask the applicant same thing, but it's your understanding they're wanting to build where? If you could dot it? Okay. And that's 35 feet?
Roughly.
Can you zoom in on the front of that?
What was the question, Rob?
Can we zoom in on the front of that property?
Thank you.
Because-
I just didn't hear what you said. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, so the packet I gave you did not include the contour. The contour is only part of the presentation. So, yeah, the answer is no. Actually, Amy, if you're able to go back.
Oh, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. And move it towards the front, if you would. Thank you.
Keep zooming in.
I'm looking for this shed that's on these drawings. On
I
here.
believe the shed is gone. So these are old aerials, because when I was initially going through all this information, I had included in the staff report that there was an existing shed. When I was out on site, there is no existing shed.
Okay, that helps me.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it.
And in one of the pictures where you can see the code enforcement truck,
Yep.
the shed should be on the left side. I couldn't find it.
Okay.
So I believe it's just a flower bed at this point.
Flower bed. All right, any other questions for Tom? All right, thanks, Tom. Actually, go back to one of these drawings and leave it there. Yeah, that's fine, right there. Go back one, right there. Thanks. All right, if we can have the applicants come forward, please. Good morning. And if I can get you to raise your right hand and
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Just state your name and address for the record, please.
William A. Peak, 6406 Shelton Circle, Unit 104, Crestwood, Kentucky.
okay. And ma'am, are you going to speak also?
Sort of, not really, probably.
All right, William, if you want to, point of clarification for staff, I guess, the applicant on the application is Tony Peak. Is
It's
that
William.
correct? And William, what's your relation to Tony? And
William Anthony Peak.
thank you.
My builder, Drew, he submitted pretty much everything, and we're on a first name basis, or I go by Tony.
Okay, all right, very good, very good. So if you want to explain the project and justify what you're trying to do.
Sure. I'm approaching retirement in just a couple of weeks, and my wife's already retired. And for the last 3 years or so, or even longer, we've been looking for a small, manageable piece of property, but that would put us, we'd have a place to go, nature. We have 2 infant grandchildren, a toddler, and another grandson who's 9 years old. And so that in our retirement, we would have a place to go on the weekends, show our grandchildren, here's how you grow, plants and kind of naturally landscape the environment, put out dead wood and things like that, just to teach them, a lot, things that they don't have an opportunity to appreciate. We live in a condominium at Madison Park, and we've been there 15 years about, and we have a first floor rear unit, and we bought that knowing we're getting older and the kids were moving on out on their own, and now they have children. And we have no intention of leaving the condo because we know as we continue to get older, it's going to be, ideal for us. But we also love to travel around Kentucky and state parks. We love the outdoors, just to sit and enjoy and have see nature. I mean, and my family and her family were farmers going back, and we had no intention of farming, but we hope to have a little garden, which we started. And we wanted something manageable where I didn't have to get a big riding mower and, just spend the whole time taking care of it. So this lot, when we looked at it in October 8, 2018, we bought it. It's beautiful with the tree lot, natural setting and the trees. It was overgrown. I don't think anything had been done to it for decades. The one property owner owned everything around there and split it up long ago. And it's just a mile from Westport. I always liked that little town of Westport, and it looks like a quiet corner of Oldham County, where few exist anymore, it seems like. And unfortunately, this is our first experience building anything, so we had to ask questions, and sometimes we'd start down the path and find out, well, that's not right. And we failed to find out about the building line, 50-foot building line. And even though we had an agent, who knew we wanted to put a little cabin, that didn't come up. It didn't come up with another builder that we started to talk to, and ended up changing. So we didn't know. It was my ignorance for not knowing that. However, it's a beautiful setting, and the topography, as you can see, there was some low-lying area. Before we bought the property, we did have a septic, test survey done. We found out we could do that. And there's a little bit of a slope to a natural, what appears to be a naturally flat area. At the time, it was all overgrown, and there was an old Volkswagen shoved up in there, and an MG and a boat on a trailer, and the owners agreed to have somebody they paid someone to take all that away. In the process of doing that, winching it out, they cleared some of that, already. Broke down a couple small trees and a lot of brush and bushes and stuff. And we're like, well, that's interesting, spot right there. And there's a big tree line there, probably at least 30 foot before the property, the ends out front. And we had every intention of keeping that and keeping everything else, the way it was, and only trying to clear what we needed to make a parking space. We had the old barn torn down. Hired somebody to do that. We kept some of the barn wood, hoping that we could, repurpose it. And I did all the work myself over the last year and a half or 2 years. So by hand, clearing only what we needed to clear. And there's some dead wood in some places. There's a lot of cedar trees going all up that hill. And there's one big one that, unfortunately, the roots will probably be damaged either way you look at putting a building in, and that one consequently is going to have to come down, I think. And but everything else we've kept, the way it is, or so far. And that's what we want to do. We kind of want to be in the middle, of all that. Have enough that we've a cleared spot for the structure, and it's only a small building. And also a place for parking and the lateral lines. That's about, all that we're taking out. We would take out quite a few more trees to have the go up higher. There are rock outcroppings. It gets worse as you go further up. You can see some rock right at basically where that tree is now. And anywhere we've dug for any reason, we haven't done a lot of it, but one guy did. Alan Powell cleared a gravel driveway for me, and there was some rock there, so there's some rock everywhere, but it really it's obvious, and if you go up that hill, it's everywhere, right there. So, and there's even more underneath it. So it's the natural place it seemed to put it. It's only a small building, a place that we can share with our grandkids and during our retirement, and enjoy a little, hopefully, peace and quiet if we can, the road noise, keep that down a little. So that's been our purpose all along, and that's, everything around it, we're trying to be good neighbors, and we've met the neighbors next door who actually own, knock on wood, Dave and Leah, their business, in Westport. And, I try to talk to him, get his opinion on things. We met a guy next across the street. We don't get out there every day by any means, but part of the deal too, we didn't want to have to travel 2 hours to have a lot that we could, work on, or work in the land a little bit, or manicure it and preserve it. And, we've also had, I cleared a bunch of barbed wire that was on that hill. There's a deer stand way up near the top that somebody had there long ago. It was broken down, and there was maybe, some trash and cans and things where teenagers somebody had been up there.
All right.
And it was barbed wire, that I took down. I don't even know why it was there, but didn't look.
Questions?
Clarification, the application as written in page 2 says it's a 14 by 36 cabin. I pointed out earlier that one shows it as a rectangle, one shows it as an L shape. Is it an L or a rectangle?
The idea was to have a porch on the front.
Yep.
At first, we were gonna have that, and when Drew looked at it more closely, we liked his idea because the view and what the lot has to offer us is everything's about the wooded area behind us, and not the road. Although we want to keep the trees. So he thought we should put the porch, and it would just be a covered porch and not a step porch where you walk up like a wooden traditional country porch. Put the porch off the side there. So that's kind of what we've agreed on. at this point right now. And we like that idea because we're facing the wild, deer come down from the hill there. And then there's a double wide window. There'd be a sliding glass door there and a double wide window next to that and a double wide window on the bedroom, all on that side. So actually the back part of the building or cabin would be facing the road. And it's actually, if we had to go further up too, besides the difficulty involved, it would be more elevated. We'd have probably put a retaining wall, try to hold back the part, more of the hill. And as far as the view from the road, you won't be seeing much of our building if if you accept the proposal. But and we intend to keep it as rustic as we can, like a cedar look.
Can you put that up?
I'm sorry, so it's gonna be one rectangle shape, it's not an L shape? And, is that correct, or which is it?
I don't know which version of the pictures, which was first and which was second. It'd be more of an L shape.
It would be.
The last
So-
time we
Those aren't
talked
showing.
about it.
Okay, but the front would still be 35 feet back?
Yes, everything about the back side, which would face the road, would be 35.
Okay,
That tree, we're pretty close to that tree, so
and,
50-foot line would put us right at the tree, and then we'd have to go further from there back to do any more.
okay, and then, again, you heard earlier, we were asking about the topography and so to understand why we need to go 15 feet in, that topography, we're trying to figure out, you're saying that's where the flat is, and he was trying to draw where it is. Can you support that or show where it's at or help
Do
us
we need to put the
understand it?
topo map back on?
There were actually other photos that I took and some drawings that Drew overlaid that I don't see here, I guess.
Yeah, if we could put that back up, I think that would be really good, if we could do that. Because part of what you're justifying is that the topography is such that you need to build it up that way because that's the flatter spot. And so if we could get your verification of where that is, I think that would be very helpful.
And you can just touch the screen. You can draw on it.
Might not be at all the scale, I guess, but I'm thinking it's right back here to that,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
Okay.
And we did remove the barn. It was really old and unusable and, it was neat, but kind of unsightly by the road. I think it actually extended 3 foot or something onto the easement, I think.
While we have this shot up here, and I'm going to ask, we're going to take a look at a different picture here in a second. Can you give me your estimate as to how close that property is to the road?
Which, you mean that line I drew?
No, this property right here that I'm circling.
Oh.
And then, no, you keep that on top. And if you can go ahead and switch to,
Well, there are other properties. We took a couple of pictures this morning, but it was difficult we can't measure, but that do appear to be pretty close to the road, compared to where we're trying to.
okay,
I can't, as far as that right there,
just give me a guess.
yeah, maybe 40
Okay,
feet.
all right. And then also, if you see on this, which was in our packet, all right, there's the property that we just circled, that you're guessing to be about 40. And then, Tom, if you can move the,
That one further up is pretty close.
well, the one further up, and then you also have these two down below, which is 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So is it, give me a guess, they're close to the road. And I'm just trying to get a general character, you know, of what you're trying to do.
Right, and so if you're measuring from the pins and not actual road, because the pins are back further.
Right.
And I looked at some of these, trying to imagine that. I mean, we're about the same line, I think, as some of these other properties. 30 to 40 foot lines, I don't know when they were built.
Right, I understand you don't have the details, but,
I think on this side, the opposite side of the road, down a little, there's I know there's one that caught my eye. It was pretty close. And they're completely open to view, you know, as well. Ours, we don't expect to, we expect to keep that buffer, the trees.
and then in your packet and in the staff report, moving this back to comply with the variance, if I'm not mistaken, that you have estimated, or maybe you've got a quote on it, that you're looking at 20,000 to remove rock.
Yeah.
That's the cost of moving it back
That's
to be in
not-
compliance.
Yeah, I don't have a way to estimate that personally, but that was my builder's.
Okay,
And then there's the additional cost of putting a wall to brace that, you know, to keep that hill back, which we don't really have to do where we're at. There'd be a lot of concrete, and really that wouldn't appear as natural to the landscape as what I think we're proposing. It's
and did you say that, I think I heard you say that visibility, you're not gonna be able to see much from the road itself.
You won't see it at all really during the, you know, warmer
Summer
weather
months.
months when there's leaves on the trees and everything.
Planting a few trees there too.
Yeah, we were gonna try to restore or replace any cedar trees that are damaged or anything. You know, the lot has been uncared for a long, long time. You know, nothing's been done there.
Okay.
We want to, you know, teach kids about birds and everything too.
Understand. All right, board members, any other questions?
If the applicant could show me on one of these view graphs where your lateral field's going to be in relationship to the structure?
There
Oh,
was
could
one
show
of
me
the
on the-
pictures.
Show me one of these view graphs.
If you can get down to where your truck was showing. Right in there, beyond.
Oh. I need to see the structure.
Okay. So the dimensions are kind of strange here, but beginning pretty much at the tail of his truck and all this back here. Right to this way
I got
is
it.
where
Yeah,
the little slope rises up,
here.
and then it flattens out where the,
I think if you put this picture up, you'll be able to,
It's a little awkward, and it's only gonna have one bedroom, for the loft. Okay, so this is probably my encroachment, I guess, that line
We have to make sure to touch the screen.
there. Okay.
so what you just said, is it close, around where the arrow is right now, the big red arrow?
Yes, part of that though is part of the parking space, so it's kind of in this is kind of like in here, everything
In
that's
there?
available right here. Charlie Ward was out there twice, once before we did the survey and once after, along with Alan. And I did get the permit for that. I'm sorry, it's
Okay, thank you.
slope here.
Okay.
Like that,
All right,
but it was approved.
all right, any other questions?
And I'm not sure who to ask this of, but what I'm trying to get to is the unique characteristics of the lot, again, is the topography. The fact that it goes up, and that your testimony was that even in digging the driveway, you're running into bedrock that very close to the surface. So given that, then your testimony is by moving it up, you would make it less natural, and it would be much more costly. And that your testimony is also that it is within the character of the neighborhood and will also look very natural from the road.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we want to preserve that look. I know it's a scenic byway, and we really appreciate the idea of being able to have a lot there. And I think, you know, that's what we love about the landscape in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. All right, any other questions? Very good. Thank you, guys. Seeing nobody else in the audience, nobody here is here to speak in favor or opposed. Board members, do you have any questions for anybody? All right, I'll close the floor, open it up for discussion.
I'll go.
Okay.
I think that in the justification statement was very nicely presented. And then it's just in the applicant's, you know, items 1, 2, and 3 were very nicely done. I appreciate the applicant's desire to maintain the topography, the trees, and the natural beauty. I think that the structure that they're proposing is very, very minimal and is going to have a very small impact on the area. I appreciate the fact that the costs were presented as to the idea of removing rock, getting further up the hillside, building a retaining wall, based on the structure that they're proposing and the costs associated with that, moving the building back. It could be an incredibly large amount of money based on the project proposal as been submitted to us. Given the fact that in the images that we could see, the structures being so close to the road to the north and south or east and west, I don't know based on this drawing, but in proximity, I would be in favor of the applicant's application and in support of what they're requesting.
Okay.
I also am in favor and agree with everything that my fellow board member just explained.
Those were the words I was going to use.
All right. I'm ready to take a motion.
Motion to approve docket OC 20-006 for front yard setback variance of 15 feet for a proposed 504 square foot cabin structure. This variance is required because of the extreme grade that exists behind the Oldham County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance minimum 50-foot yard setback for AG1/CO1. The location of the proposed structure has been cleared and would allow drainage without significantly altering the surrounding landscape. Additional approval support as follows. It will allow the structure to be placed in a manner that is non-invasive to the natural topography of the land. It will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public. It will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity. Conditions of approval. This variance shall only apply to the application considered at the July 16, 2020 Oldham County Board of Adjustments and Appeals public hearing.
Very good. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's been approved. Okay. We have minutes from the May hearing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Y'all have a great day. Are there any modifications to the minutes? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I abstain as I was not here for the meeting.
Okay, very good. Those opposed? Minutes approved. And other business.
We have already received one application for the August hearing, so we will have an August meeting.
Anything else? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned.